Voices from the Mausoleum is brought to you by the You Run Podcast Network and yourunpodcast.com.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the episode Found Footage Fridays.
Howdy.
We're back. I'm excited about this one. Like a few days prior to recording this, I made the realization that one of my like favorite PG-13 horror movies technically counts as found footage. So I was like, hey, you know what that means?
We can cover it.
We can cover it. So yeah, today we are covering the 2009 mockumentary style film, The Fourth Kind. A thriller involving an ongoing unsolved mystery in Alaska, where one town has seen an extraordinary number of unexplained disappearances during the past 40 years, and there are accusations of a federal cover-up.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not familiar, this has Milla Jovovich in it.
She's great.
Elias, I forgot his last name, and Will Patton is the other guy. Yeah, so this was a first watch for you.
Yeah, I mean, I remember probably seeing trailers for it.
Yeah.
09. So depends on when in 09. I was either a senior in high school or a freshman in college. So I remember it coming out. I just don't know. I didn't go see it for some reason. Love Jovovich. But yeah, no, I was pleasantly surprised. I knew you liked it. I know generally it has low ratings, but a lot of post found footage usually has low ratings anyway.
Yeah, anything in that subcategory is like
usually crapped on. So I take that with a grain of salt anyway.
Yeah, especially for its time, probably because it came out in 09. So
yeah, so this was sort of either right before or right after Paranormal Activity. Mm-hmm. Sort of depending on again which part of 09 it came out in. But I thoroughly liked it. I thought this was, I think I messaged you. I said this felt like an expensive episode of Unsolved Mysteries. And I really dug it for that.
This is like, I think this is actually in the trailer, so this is not a huge spoiler, but the very beginning of this, Milla Jovovich comes out of a misty, she just like comes out and she's like, gives you all these facts, these things, right? And you're just like, I remember, so I went and saw this in theaters, and it's one of only 3 films that has ever given me nightmares, because in real life, and I know I've mentioned this before, I am 100,000,000,000% terrified of aliens. Like aliens scare me so bad. And because I believe in aliens, like I'm terrified of them. Okay. And so anything alien, just instantly, like Signs, same way, terrified, absolutely terrified. So I went home after seeing this, and it scared the shit out of me. Like I had nightmares for weeks after I saw it. But I did see it in theaters, and I remember, and it still happens even on rewatches, where when she's done with her little thing, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. Well, I just love that. Yeah, Jovovich, she's playing herself in the beginning, right? Which is so cool.
She's like, "Hi, my name is Milla Jovovich. I'm an actress, blah, blah, blah." Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. So it's like, so it's like a recreation sort of mockumentary, right? Like that you would see on like Discovery Channel or something.
It's got clips of the reenactment next to the actual footage. It's very well done, very creative.
Yeah, and they do this really cool thing too. There's like this, like when they're doing the side by side, it's not just a split screen. They do this very like it's not very subtle, but it's like it wavers between the two. Like the split in the middle kind of bounces, and you get a little bit more of Mia, a little bit more of like the real.
Based on Dr. Tyler,
sort of
the real Dr. Tyler. Yeah,
and it puts you on sort of like an uneven, like it just adds to sort of the anxiety of.
Yeah, the setup, the style, the way this is filmed and edited is masterful in my opinion. It's so good. Like I think that everything that they did was like super smart filmmaking. The choices they made, that there's certain techniques that they use that at times can be dumb or overused, but I think they did them very well. And yeah, I love this movie so much. And this is another one that when people are like PG-13 horror, I'm like, yeah, PG-13 horror, because like it can be done, man. It can be done right, because this movie's very scary in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be like, it does. Yeah, I mean, what does the R get you? Gore. I mean, that's it. Gore and sex,
And the F word.
right? Gore,
Or
cursing,
nudity.
and sex.
Yeah.
Neither of those three are scary.
No.
You know
No.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
alone, those things aren't scary. It's tension, it's
It's
writing,
other
it's
things.
performance, it's sound, it's lighting, it's all the other stuff you know. So like the moments that we get of actual alien activity
Mhm.
are terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying. Totally agree.
Like the sounds that they make, the voices,
Language.
the language use is really good here. Um it's scarier than most possession movies, I'm gonna say. Which I know we talked about in the last episode,
This
sort of
is
dime a dozen.
Yeah, they are. This is so well done. I think that aliens are not, I would say, one of the easiest things to pull off. I think
Mhm.
because they can very easily be silly, right?
Right.
Like there's another found footage movie called oh shoot, what's it called? It came out in like the 80s. Oh no, it's a big one. It's like it's an alien one, but it's very silly. And I love alien found footage. It's one of my favorite subgenres, but there's just not enough of it that's good. A lot of it's really bad.
Yeah.
And this is so good. Like so to give a little bit more, because I this is not super big spoiler, but Mila Jovovich's character when she's reenacting Dr. Abigail Tyler, she's a therapist and
Mhm.
she's working with people on this case study about sleep problems that her husband was working on. And so that's the initial setup. This is all stuff you get the first couple
And
minutes
it's
of the movie.
all in like the isolated town of
Yeah,
Nome,
and
Alaska.
they live in Nome, Alaska. So
Yeah.
like where she lives, she has to literally fly into her therapist. I mean to her office that she practices therapy in. And
Mhm.
so but it's really great. And I think that the patients are super compelling. I think the experiences that they have are super compelling. The use of owls in this is very scary. I genuinely the setup for this and the way that it just moves along, and I was saying this to you when you had messaged that you were watching it. I love this side of her acting
Mhm.
because in this she's very motherly. She's not,
Yeah.
I will punch you in the face if you say one more thing that I don't like. She can't do that because she's just playing a normal woman who doesn't have a lot of pull, who doesn't have any power, who's just kind of
Right.
stuck in the system as it is, and she's trying to protect her children. Like,
Yeah.
so it's a very realistic plane for her to act in. And I really loved seeing her in a softer role like this. It was really cool because in her own right, she's still very badass in this role, but
Yes.
it's in a much more practical, realistic way.
Yeah, a little more grounded, right, than say
Right. Sure.
Resident Evil. Right.
Yes. No, she's not kicking zombie dogs in the face or nothing like
Right.
that.
Right.
No, no, no.
Yeah, no, but the setup is so cool.
Mhm.
Just the psychologist team, and so yeah. So I mean, I guess we could also say like because this is in the beginning of the movie, right? We know that the husband's dead,
Yeah. Yeah. You get all of that in the first like 10 minutes of the movie.
right?
Yeah.
So like, that's sort of the setup and the mystery is whatever they
He,
investigated.
yeah.
Husband supposedly was murdered in the middle of the night,
Hmm.
and that's sort of her trauma, and she's trying to move forward from that.
Yeah.
She has sort of a, s- a rough relationship with her son, and the daughter is, well, she's too young. She's young, so I think she's still
She's still
attached.
very mommy,
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
yeah. And
And
yeah, so her daughter Ashley, right after, and this is all the first like 10 minutes of the movie. Her daughter's sight went away after the dad
yes,
died. So there's a lot of stuff she's dealing with while trying to process her own grief, while trying to be a good mom, while trying to be a therapist, while trying to do this study that meant a lot to her husband, who she loved very much. And like there's a lot going on to this. There's layers to her that make her reactions, her decisions, all of those things seem much more plausible, I think.
hmm absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the use between the reenactment footage, the found footage, like that's the balance is so good. Like the classically shot stuff, the reenactment stuff is beautiful. I think you said this already, but like it is
Oh,
just
yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah, very
You know,
cinematic.
yeah, and like I don't know if they filmed a lot of it in Alaska.
It probably did, right?
Probably, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it's a
Maybe
beautiful like
Canada. Everybody likes to film in Canada and call it somewhere else.
or Canada, yeah, but which is
Yeah.
up there anyway, so you might as well go to
So you
Alaska.
might as well go to Alaska. Yeah.
Uh, so I mean, to get the scenery that they're showing, sort of these snowy mountains, right?
It was pretty. Yeah. They
Yeah, no,
probably were in
it's
Alaska.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
But and then sort of like the supporting cast as well. Is the kids are good. The other doctors involved, the police involved, like everyone was sort of
The
got,
family members of the patients, like it really
yeah,
was, there wasn't a weak one in the bunch, I don't think.
yeah, all really
Yeah.
solid, believable performances.
Yeah. I did want to punch the son a few times.
I know.
I'm like, man, open your eyes. Like, what is wrong with you? You know what I mean? My son
I know
never,
he did annoy me.
I hated him. He was such a jerk.
Come
She
on,
just
man.
looked sometimes she like when they were interacting, I was just like, just hit him. Don't hit your children. I'm just kidding. But I was just thinking, I'm like, he sucks.
No, he's lashing. Well, that's the thing is right. Whether it's grieving and then he's lashing out, he's blaming his mom. He's pissed, right?
And I think he also too is supposed to be at such an awkward age, right? He's probably like middle school age.
Mm-hmm.
Because when she picks up Ashley from school, she does not pick the son up. So I don't think they go to the same school. So I think he's in middle school.
Yeah.
And that's a different level of feelings. So
Mm-hmm.
Would you rate this?
Yeah. I'm gonna give this 8.5.
Okay.
8.5. It's not a perfect movie, right? So I don't think it hits 9 or 10, but I really liked it. I would watch this movie again.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a 9 out of 10 for me. It's one of my favorite movies.
It's awesome.
It's one of my favorite alien movies. Now that I have realized it's found footage, it will be on that list now too. First of all, I love her. I've loved her since I was introduced to her in the first Resident Evil. But I also this checks so many boxes for me. It's found footage. It's mockumentary. It's motherly things. I mean, now obviously I feel a little bit different about it than the first time I saw it, right? Because in 2009 I was not a mother. Yeah, the alien stuff. I mean, it just checks so many boxes for me. And I love that they include, this is not relevant to the movie, so I don't feel like this is a spoiler, but I love the calls at the end of the film and all the facts
Yeah.
of all the call-ins from people who have seen UFOs.
Yeah.
The number is like 11 million. I think it's higher than that now, that it's not 2009 anymore. But at the time, the 11 million statistic was true. 11 million people have called in at one point or another and reported seeing a UFO. And for those of you who are unclear, all that means is an unidentified flying object, more than likely not a weather balloon, but not also always aliens, right? So, but I loved that part of it. I was just like enthralled, I was like, oh man, this is the
Yeah.
best. That
Oh,
was
so good.
such a great touch to that. And then like them saying like, obviously like what you believe is up to you. It's just like, like it's so good. I love this movie. But
I had
anyway.
also just seen the UFO episode of Evil too, right before seeing this.
Oh, with the military. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. So I was very like, I was
In the
feeling on
zone.
theme.
Yeah, no, this is great. If you're watching and you have not seen The Fourth Kind, highly recommend it. You can watch it on a website called 123 something or others, or you can rent it. I actually own this one, but I wanted to rewatch it while I was at work because I don't get a lot of movie time at home, and so I watched it on the 123 website. As long as you got an ad blocker, you good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's like 3 and change to rent, so it's not like a super expensive one, but yeah.
No, it's not. Well, it's also it's pretty old. So,
It's
but
an older
I think
one.
it's worth it. I mean, would you say it was worth paying that to see it though, if you've never seen it?
I think it's definitely rent worthy. I mean, especially if you enjoy found footage, you like mockumentary, right? If you're someone that craps on found footage no matter what, you're fine.
Don't waste your money. Yeah, because you're just going to be pissed the whole time. Yeah.
But that's the caveat. I think there's this whole found footage series. Anyway. It's like you're here because you like found footage.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was so pumped. I don't even know how this came up. I don't know why The Fourth Kind came up recently, but I just started thinking about it and I was like, you know what? That movie's mockumentary style. Like, You know, because it was like right after I messaged you and I was like, you know what? What we do in the shadows is technically found footage. Like,
Technically?
because it's a documentary crew that's filming them, which I think
Mhm.
in the show you forget sometimes. But in
Yes.
the movie, I think it's a lot more, the main plot. But anyway, I digress. But I was like, damn, that means fourth cap. But anyway, so yeah, we'll do spoilers.
Oh, yeah. So, spoilers up now.
Okay. So I love owls, right? I'm like,
Mhm.
I do, but I love how scared this made me of owls.
They're freaky animals at night.
They are, but I loved the kind of connection of like the oval black looking eyes
Mhm.
and this concept. Like, have you ever seen the meme that's like when you walk into a room and you forget what you were doing? It's because you just saw an alien and they had to make you forget. So you didn't remember.
Oh,
It's like a
yeah.
joke, but it's kind of like the concept that something of a higher being, not power, but a higher
Mhm.
intelligent being is capable of manipulating your mind that way. We
Yeah.
all saw the owl. Then that I've got goosebumps. The realization of like when they say it's not an owl. Like the first time they said that, Steve, I was like, "Oh no, I'm so
Yeah.
scared right now." Like I like, and then he's like, and that one guy in particular that's like trying to wake his wife up. That hurt. Like I was like, "Oh
Oh,
my god, to be that scared, to be going through something, to try to wake up the only other person there that can
it's
do anything,
nightmare, yeah.
and they're not waking up." And then he's like, they can get in without triggering the alarms. I'm telling you, I have so many goosebumps.
Mm,
Like it was so scary to
yeah.
me, but I loved the way they set this up because they don't really tell you what they look like. You never see
No.
them. And I thought that was so smart because it was so scary because of that, I think.
It's more atmospheric, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And, like,
it's
oh,
more
yeah, I
about
mean mhm,
control and invasion, basically, of like your space and like, oh,
yeah. I mean, it
so
really is sort of like a home invasion movie in a different sense, right? Um,
yeah,
when you take a classic alien story, but make it horror, right? It's sort of you
yeah.
take, like, this idea of, like, an alien invasion, but you make it
Mhm.
so intimate and spooky like that. It just yeah, it ups the intensity for sure. But I love the lore here too, right? Where
Oh,
so they're looking into the languages that they're using, and it's like ancient Sumerian and all these different languages, and it's
mhm.
sort of the idea of like almost like Prometheus, right?
Yep.
Of the creators of who are they?
Yep.
They've been here before. They've influenced
Yep.
humankind.
Yep.
Right, and so they think they're God, right? What was the line is like, they're not God, but they can pretend to be or something. Yeah, like, that was good. That was a good line,
She
actually.
was like, this, yeah, because they said, so there's some parts of that speech that are blocks or, dashes because they didn't break it down, but it says, it's like, I blank God. And then she tells the guy that's interviewing her, she's like, yeah, she's like, I think that whatever this was isn't God, but certainly wanted us to believe that it was, or certainly wanted to have I don't know, like it's so good. I say like, the scenes with the when the people are under hypnosis are some of the
Mhm.
scariest scenes in this. Like the one in her office and then the one when the guy like floats off the bed.
Yeah.
That was so scary. Oh, that's why it came up. Somebody just posted on Twitter the other day and was like, "What's a scene that disturbed you so much you've never forgotten about it?" And I posted the gif of the guy floating in the bed because I was like,
Okay.
that scared me so bad seeing that in theaters, and it's one of the things I had nightmares about, like after I saw it in theaters. And then the other scene that I really loved like that was the scene of what's his name with his family, where he kills his entire
Oh,
family.
yeah.
You're just like, but see, like, and I love that so much, right? Because that's such a commentary on people's ability to process the existence of aliens. Like
Mhm.
like they always say, like, oh, the government wouldn't talk to us about it because we couldn't handle it. That's probably very true on a very large spectrum, right? But it's like that's what happened when he realized he couldn't protect his family.
Yeah.
That he genuinely thought that was the better option.
Yeah. Sort of like the
Oh,
end of the mist, right?
Jesus.
Man, but that ended up being a whole other thing. But yeah, the
Right.
idea of that, yeah, we can't fathom. I mean, because I think, well, it's a lot of people who sort of obviously their faith would be called into question, right? They would probably question a lot of stuff, like you're when you're forced to sort of change your perspective
Yeah.
on the reality that you thought you knew,
Hmm.
right? It could be very scary.
Yeah. No, it is. I totally
Hmm.
agree. Um,
But
yeah.
yeah, no, this is yeah. Like I was saying, I think the hypnosis scenes rival like most possession scenes for me.
I
Um,
get that. Yeah. No, I agree. I think yeah.
a
Super
again,
good.
because it was a less is more approach, but the
Hmm.
sound mixing and the sound design is so intense. Um, and it's not just shock for shock value, I think, in the sense where it feels because they purposely don't show you a lot of it, because the aliens are obviously like messing with the footage.
Right, glitching it out, which is
It's
the
like
effect I was mentioning earlier that sometimes is redundant and people use it too much or they don't use it appropriately, but I think it's used perfectly in this.
right, because of course they would have the ability to do that.
Yeah, it goes with literally everything else with them and technology and which just we know this already, like
Hmm.
Aliens 101. Yeah.
But yeah, the lore built here
Mhm.
is really cool. Like I was saying, so the language stuff. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, the scene. So the cop that's parked out in front of her house, and
Yes.
the UFO sort of flies overhead was really cool.
That was so well shot. Yeah, that was great. I find, like and I know these scenes are they're meant to be frustrating, but the scenes with Sheriff August infuriated me to no end. She tells him, she's like, "You had someone outside my house. What did they see?" And he's like, "Oh, he doesn't know." And she's like, "Tell me what they saw." And
Hmm.
meanwhile, he's just like, "No, like you did something to your daughter."
It's like, yeah, what? Check the house then.
Yeah, but also like the deputy calls on the radio and says something on camera about what he sees. He
Yeah, like
saw
a
it.
cover up there. Yeah,
It wasn't just that it was caught on tape and the tapes were fucked up. Like he saw it.
yeah, yeah,
Abel, her friend that's also a therapist, he saw that guy levitate 6 inches off the bed. He saw that happen. How
and
can
denies
she
it.
do that unless she's a mutant? You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right. No, I mean, they all they really I mean, this it's also very much a story about gaslighting, right?
yes,
Right?
it
Because you
is.
have all these people in power who are just like, "You're just a crazy woman. No, we're not gonna believe you."
Yeah, and I think like and this whole thing of like her husband being killed essentially by aliens because he got too close, right? That was the
Mhm.
premise or the other side of it. But then having him have shot himself, right? So like I don't know where I fall of what I believe
Mhm.
because you've got a man who just killed his whole family and himself because of the existence of aliens. How do we know that her husband Will didn't do the same thing? Like, not obviously not his family, but
Right.
like you don't know because in her memory, she remembers a silver rod, not a kitchen knife, not a regular weapon, like a metal rod going through his chest.
Right.
And then in the autopsy pictures, he's got a bullet wound in his head and a gun that they found.
Yeah.
But she was sleeping right next to him.
So I think right, so there it's like I guess implying that right, so the aliens mess with her memory, right? The
Maybe.
idea of like, so we're covering this up, so we're gonna make you think you saw it one way, right? Um,
To make you seem crazy. I actually had never thought of it that way before. I thought of it more as like she knows what really happened, but or she knows that there was someone there that made him do it is more what I mean.
oh,
Not
okay.
necessarily the memory, because I
Right.
think the memory is just a replacement. Like they talk about this with eyewitnesses all the time of like made up things. Like you saw an end result, so then you fill in the gaps naturally sometimes without
Mhm.
realizing you don't actually know. And I think this was like that's kind of how I've always took it is the aliens are responsible for his death,
Right.
period. But the memory thing is maybe just her filling in gaps because she knows there was someone there. She knew that someone else was in that room with them when that happened.
Right.
And because the wife of the other guy that was like trying to wake her up in the middle of it and she couldn't wake up, So we know aliens affect the other people in the house when they're
Mhm.
coming to get just the one person. And they did that to her too, because her children never woke up when any of that was
Yeah.
going on. They didn't wake up to a gunshot.
No.
So it's like, I don't know. And that part broke me though, because they're like, "You're just a crazy bitch." Like, I hated that because you know how I feel. I'm so sensitive. But we know as viewers that she wasn't though, and that's the redeemable thing here is that there really was something else at play. And then when she attempts to make contact with them to get her daughter back, they
Yeah.
paralyze her.
Well, right. I mean, I think that's sort of like what rings strong with the movie is that it's not the movie telling us that she's crazy, right? It's these frustrating characters that are telling her that
Yes,
she's crazy, right?
specifically
Yeah,
August.
yeah, yeah.
Yes,
So yeah, I mean, you're right there. It's not like that's not the
which
thesis
is
of the movie.
good.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that because that's very realistic. That's very
yeah.
realistic.
Um, but I mean, ultimately, right? I sort of love so they take her daughter, right?
Yeah.
And so the movie ends. So this makes me want a sequel, though. I know, obviously, here we are, over 10 years later. We're not going to
Right.
get one.
Shit.
But so, like, she's like still just looking out for her daughter.
Yeah.
But I sort of like it's such like a bittersweet sort of ending, right? Because she's ultimately cleared of any suspicions of anything, right? So,
Right. So she's not gonna do jail time, and
right,
they'd have a hard time proving that shit anyway. You know what I mean?
right. But she's in a wheelchair.
Yes, they paralyzed her from the waist down.
She's paralyzed.
Yeah.
And her daughter's gone, and she's estranged from her son. I'm like, gee, and her husband's dead.
And
Like,
her husband's dead.
Jesus.
And that's the thing is like the scenes where she's interviewing with that guy, which is like the start of
Hmm.
the film. Once we really get into it, like she is so believable. Like she gets so emotional and it feels so
Yeah.
raw to see her
Yeah,
reacting
that
to these
actress is
things.
great.
I have no idea she'd been in anything else.
So yeah, I'm sorry, like who's like the real Abby Tyler? Oh, Charlotte Milchar. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. She hasn't
But
done it. Yeah, she hasn't really done too much.
no, mind flesh. But yeah, she was so incredible in this and just so believable. And in the end, when after we get our wrap up, Mia Jovovich and the guy that was interviewing the real Dr. Tyler on the show, they both say, in the end, what you believe is yours to decide.
Hmm.
And I loved the way they line that up because he says it first, and then it
Yeah.
cuts to her and she says the same thing, and you're just like, y'all have officially freaked me out. Like, because it's very much like a whatever you want to believe, like it's
Right.
just kind
Well,
of
it's perfect, right? Because it's just sort of like your imagination is scarier than anything that we can show you.
for sure. And I love, and again, I can't say this enough. I'm so glad they didn't show them. I think that was brilliant. They did show the shadows that one time.
Hmm.
That's it, man. You don't get to see any features. You don't get to see any shapes. Nothing.
No, no, minimal is great. Less is more with most horror
So
films.
many things, especially found footage.
Yeah.
Like this was all about an engaging story with a phenomenal cast that
Hmm.
really just sold you on aliens. And if you're already like me, afraid of them, this will and you keep in mind 2009 was like not the best year to be trying to Google stuff, right? So I remember leaving the theater and trying to figure out if this was actually based on a true story or not.
Right.
Because I believe, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, that would happen.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that probably really happened. And I'm like, are there really that many people that go missing in Alaska? Like, I wanted to know. And Alaska does have a lot of missing people, I think, but I don't think it's necessarily aliens. Who knows? Maybe it is.
Yeah.
They live in rough terrain, so it's a little different. But anyway, yeah, no, I love this movie. I am so glad that you got to watch it and that you liked it too.
Yeah. And yeah, long time overdue.
Yeah, it's such a great film. I was telling Tasha we were going to talk about it, and she was like, "Oh yeah, you and I did an Alien episode like back 2 years ago or longer ago when we started doing HBB." And I was like, "Oh, we did," and I picked the fourth kind. I totally forgot about that, but not on the YouTube channel. That was when I was
Mhm.
trying to do podcast stuff. But
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
anyway, but yeah, no, I love this. Love, 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 love this movie.
No, it's fantastic. Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite ones that we've checked out since we've started doing this.
Doing found footage.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's super solid movie. So if you haven't seen it, recommend it.
Yeah.
Just a reminder, if you like Found Footage Fridays and you would like a shirt that shows that, there's a link to merch in the description for this episode.
Yeah. Be right down below. And what? Yeah. So have we picked our next couple of movies we're going to cover? Right.
Yeah, you messaged them to me earlier. We're gonna do
Chernobyl
and
The Deep House.
the
Right.
Deep House. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so that'll be the next couple of weeks to look forward to.
Pending, of course, I have not done the Deep House already, but I don't think we have. I love the movie, but I covered it with Horror Fiend TV. So in my mind, I know I've done something on it, but I don't think it's been for found footage. Friday.
I think I looked and I don't remember seeing it, but I also
don't
have
think so
missed
either.
it as I was scrolling. So
yeah.
we'll
So but those, yeah, so we'll be doing those two after this one. So well, good stuff. Back to some slightly older, but some good stuff. Deep House was my movie of the year for the year that movie came out. So super excited to talk about that one. I will try not to just talk the whole time.
Like I did this
episode. So. Anyway, cool. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this episode of Found Footage Fridays. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us again. Hope you have a good weekend. Enjoy your week coming up, and we will see you in the next one.
See ya.